your Bookish Room, and I'm back with another video. Today I'm here with my October TBR, which is slightly late considering it is already October 12th. But better late than never, I'm guessing, right? And it's an outrageous TBR because there's no way that I'm going to finish any of this, but it would be unlike me not to film an outrageous TBR because that's just the way that I am. So we're going to go ahead and jump into it. I have separated this stuff into, or I've attempted. I'm attempting to separate this stuff into a couple of different piles because I want to make sure that I'm giving you guys the most clear-cut picture of what I'm attempting to do this month. And let's see, I think I am about almost there with sorting this stuff. I should have had this done before I shot the video, but such is life. Alright, so I have separated into 5 different categories. We have 6 different categories. We have thriller, children's, cozy mysteries, graphic novels, manga, comics, classics, and YA. So let's go ahead and jump in and make this video really quick because my battery is going to die and I'm not going to have time to charge it. So the first book that I have here is A Chain by Adrienne McKenty. This is a book that I checked out from my library, and this is a book that's been going around slightly kind of sort of on BookTube about a group of individuals, or basically people who get trapped into this chain of kidnapping kids. Which, you know, I just had a kid myself, so I don't know if this is really the smartest thing for me to really read right now, but the premise of it sounded really interesting because it kind of reminded me of those chain letters that you used to send, like, or people still do, like on Facebook and your email and stuff, and if you don't send this chain letter, blah blah blah, X, Y, and Z will happen. Well, this is really one of those things where it's like, if you don't kidnap someone else's kid, something bad is going to happen to your kid. So I think that this is going to be okay. Thrillers can be hit or misses for anybody and everybody, not just me, because sometimes they do well. Sometimes the author is able to write it very well, and other times the author just kind of doesn't do justice with the ending. So we're hoping that this one is one where the author does a good job with the ending and the reveal. The next pile that I have in front of me are my children and middle grade selections for the month. That is including The Titan's Curse by Rick Riordan, which I've been reading for months and months. And no, I still haven't picked it up. Yes, I'm still on page 112. That's just, you know, the way that the cookie's crumbling right now. Hopefully, maybe this month I will, you know, end up finishing it. I need a new copy of this book anyway. This book is so cruddy and nasty. I need a new copy. So hopefully this month. And then I have 4 Goosebumps books. These I can easily read in an hour. I'm reading them in order. So I finished 1 and 2 last year in the original 62 series. So I have book number 3, which is Monster Blood. I have book number 4, which is Say Cheese and Die. Book number 5, which is The Curse of the Mummy's Tomb, and book number 6, which is Let's Get Invisible. So those are the number orders of the ones as they were printed here in the US. The next pile that I have here are my cozy mysteries that I want to read this month. The first one that I have is The Skeleton Stuffs a Stocking. This is one that I'm already currently reading, and I'm about 50 pages away from finishing this one. It's really interesting. I have to write a full review on this one, so this one will go up sooner than later. I also have A Batter of Life and Death, which is the second book in the Bake Shop Mysteries by Ellie Alexander. I read the first one either last year or the year before last year and really enjoyed it. It takes place in Oregon, and it is a town that really is huge on Shakespeare. I do remember that much from the first book, but like I said, I enjoyed the first one, so I was like, you know what? I really want to go ahead and pick up the second one. I also have one checked out from the library, which was on my September TBR, and I never got to it. And that is A Flip for Murder, which is a country store mystery by Maddie Day. Or maybe this was in my September library book haul. I think this was in my September library book haul. So this is another one I think that will be pretty easy to read. I won't go into this one because I talked about it in my September library book haul. So if you want to know more about that, definitely check out that video. The classic that I am reading this month is The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexander Dumas. I am reading this with a group of individuals. that have been organized by Dee over at Brown Girl Reading. We are reading this month and into next month. We are following a good reading track. I am trying my best to keep up, but I read as much as I can, and when I can, as you can see, I'm actually annotating. Let's see if it'll focus. I'm annotating my copy, so it takes me a little bit longer to read than the average person, probably because I'm not just reading it, I'm actually reading and annotating at the same time. This does not read like a typical classic. It is very, very good. It is a chunker of a book. It's over 1,000 pages, but it reads like a modern day book, which makes it so interesting. There's so much political intrigue and drama and chaos from the time that you open up the book, so this is an easy book to read. It's about a guy named Edmund who it seems like he has everything going right for him until you have some people who get jealous and then kind of set him up for the okie doke. And this is, from what I've heard, a book about revenge, and it is best served cold. I don't know why I threw that in there. So the next group of books that I have are my YA books for the month. The first is The Sea Witch by Sarah Henning. This is a reimagined tale, I think, of who would have been Ursula if we were going off of the Disney movie. I've had this checked out for a while, still haven't read it, but I think that I can get through this rather quickly. And I really want some kind of mermaid-esque sea tales in my life. I haven't read one yet. I don't think I've ever read one, like ever. So definitely want to pick this one up. After that, I have Wilder Girls by Rory Power, which has been getting a lot of buzz. I also talked about this one in my library book haul. This has been getting a lot of hype. I've heard good things and iffy things about it. Some people said it was kind of hard to get into, but once you get into it, it's phenomenal. So I'm just going to take people's word for that and think that once I jump into it, it's going to be a phenomenal book. I don't know when. I'm not like anxious to get into this one, so this will probably be one of those that I'm kind of like, whenever I get to it is when I get to it. Hopefully this month is when I get to it, because I gotta return it to the library when I go back to work. Yeah, next one that I have here is The Diviners by Libba Bray. I've already read this book. This will be a reread for me. I want to reread the series because the 4th book comes out February of next year. This is one that I love, that I read years ago, and this is one that I actually got signed by Libba when I met her a few years ago. She was a phenomenal woman to meet in person. I think I also have Lair Dream signed by her as well. I'm gonna go back through and read this one, and when I read it this time, I'm actually gonna annotate it because I haven't had the chance to annotate it. I've read this one physically. I listened to the 2nd and 3rd one in audio. The audiobooks are phenomenal. If you haven't listened to them, definitely give them a read. They're narrated by January LaVoy. Is that her last name? I can't exactly remember her name, but she's a very, very good narrator, and will have you thinking that you're listening to a full blown cast when really it's just her doing the vocals, which is great. If you didn't know, this book takes place in 1920s. A lot of paranormal activity goes on in it. This one really, really scared me. Actually, literally gave me nightmares. So it'll be interesting for me to do a reread, and I thought it'd be interesting for the Spirit of October spooky book to pick up this one. And the last one that I have in my YA group is also a reread, and it's City of Ashes by Cassandra Clare. This is the 2nd book in the Mortal Instrument series. Like I said, I'll be doing a reread of the entire series. I actually have a schedule written out to finish all of them, but I'm completely off that schedule already, but hopefully I can catch up. But I wrote out a whole schedule to read these books in anticipation for the new book that's going to be released next year. Let's see if I stick to that schedule, and if I finish these books. I will be going through and I'll be annotating this. I did do a full written review of City of Bones, which I will link in the description box below. The next group of books that I have are my comics, graphic novels, and manga for the month. I'm not going to go into much detail with these, just going to make it nice and quick. So the first one I have is Fables Volume 4, March of the Wooden Soldiers, and Fables Volume 5, The Mean Seasons. I have read both of these before. These are rereads. I'm going through and rereading the series in anticipation of finally, between this year and next year, getting through the entire series, as well as all of the spin-offs. I haven't done it yet, but hopefully within the next year or so I can do it. I have to read Meg Cabot's Black Canary Ignite, because this one is due for review on October 29th. This is published by DC Zoom. They are an imprint of DC Comics that focus on publishing middle grade and children graphic novels. So this one was sent to me for review. I also have Ghost by Raina Telgemeier. This is the same author who writes The Babysitters Club. She's also known for Smiles and for Sisters in Drama. I think I've read Smile by her. I have read Smile. I haven't read Ghost. It's about two sisters and one of them has cystic fibrosis, and they are responsible for reuniting Ghost with their loved ones. So they're trying to figure out how to put their sides of fear and get that accomplished, which I think is really interesting. I love Raina Telgemeier's art style. I think it's really great. She's well known for writing children's and middle grade graphic novels. So if you have never checked her out, definitely check her out if you're interested in that. I have one more middle grade / children's graphic novel, and that's Goosebumps, Slappy's Tales of Horror. And I love Slappy. He's one of my favorite characters from the Goosebumps era. And these, I think, are just not miniature, but short stories. I don't know if they all... Yeah, so these are 4 short stories. There's A Shocker on Chalk Street, The Werewolf of the Fever Swamp, Ghost Beach, and Night of the Living Dummy. So all those are compiled into one volume here. I think there may be more of these. I'll have to look into it, but I did find this one at a library book sale for like $1. The next things that I have are all manga. So I had 6 volumes of manga. I have volumes 5, volume 6, and volume 7 of Food War Shokugeki no Soma by Yututu Sakuda. Like I said, I'm doing a reread of this series as well because volume 32 just came out last week. And that is the final volume in the series. It finally has come to an end, but I stopped somewhere in the 20s. So I have about 10 to 15 more volumes to read before I finish up, but I wanted to do a reread so I'm up to date and remember everything that has happened since the last time that I've read these. As you guys know, I always talk about this series on my channel. It's one of my favorite shonen manga series of all time. If you are a foodie or if you like competition, if you've ever watched Iron Chef, this is a great series to check out. Next I have Attack on Titan Volume 2 by Hajime Isayama, and I read Attack on Titan Volume 1 a while ago and really enjoyed it. Everybody's read Attack on Titan except me. So I need to start with Volume 2 and finish with the series because I started watching the anime and thought it was really good. And I read the first volume of the manga and really enjoyed it as well. Next I have Black Butler Volume 2 by Yana Toboso, and I read Volume 1 this year, I believe. Yeah, I read it this year, so I want to pick up Volume 2. This is about a butler who's actually a demon and he serves this kid. And they do some wild, crazy things. They're not very nice people, but I did enjoy the first volume. I've watched parts of the anime and thought that the anime was really good, so I wanted to read this. That way I can go ahead and pick up more volumes of the series because there's Black Butler and I think there's another part to it as well. And I'm not sure how many volumes there are. That's something that I definitely need to look into. The next one that I have and the last thing on my TBR is Rosario and Vampire Volume 1 by Akihishi Ikeda, and I've had this on my TBR for several years. I've never picked it up. It's time to pick it up. She's about a young guy who can't get into high school, but he gets into this one and he meets this girl who's kind of weird, and ends up she's a vampire and he's going to Monster High. So I thought that this would be perfect, especially since it is the Halloween season, to finally start reading this, just in case, you know, this is a series that I want to continue later on down the road. Alright y'all, so that is it. That's my October TBR, which is completely outrageous. It is okay. I'm not going to get through all this stuff, but hopefully I at least can get through all the comic books, the children's stuff, and maybe like my thriller and then 1 or 2 of the YA books. That's all I can hope for, because I still have arcs that I need to get through, and these videos are going to be posted out of order. So in the arc video, I'm going to say like it's my first video postpartum, but it is my first video, but it won't be the first one that goes up, because this one needs to go first since it is my TBR and it's already basically like the middle of the month. So, but other than that, if you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more content from me, click the subscribe button. If you're interested in following me on social media, all my links will be down below in the description box. And as always, I hope you guys have a wonderful evening.